Hello and welcome to my show, Crypto by Jess. In today's video, we're going to go over market sentiment, what's been going on in the crypto space with Bitcoin. We know that markets have recently rallied. It seems the market wants to break out. It wants to go up. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about token 2049 here in Singapore. As you may see in the background, I am still in Singapore, and it was an amazing experience of a conference. And we're going to talk a little bit about Solana. Now, you may have seen my previous videos. I've covered Solana before, and I have more updates for you. It'll be a separate video. But for today's video, let's jump into it and see what has been going on. So as you can see on my screen, this is Bitcoin's chart. I'm not a master pro trader, but it's easy to see, right? You just move your cursor around. Bitcoin has been moving sideways for quite some time now. And it's quite normal for the month of September. If you're new to crypto, then you wouldn't know this. But if you are and have been in crypto for a while, you would know that it's very typical for the month of September. And what we're expecting and hoping for, but going to allow ourselves to be driven by data, because this is not an emotional thing. Actually, there's a quote or a saying that says the best traders are completely non-emotional. So what does the data show us? It shows us, as you can see on my screen, that Bitcoin has been between 62,000 all the way up to about $64,000. As of the moment, we're breaking out. As you can see, these 4 green bars going up and moving above the moving average. This blue line is the moving average. So historically, what this means is if the chart is moving above this blue line, then it implies that the market's going to break up, that this chart or this token that we're looking at is about to pop off. And if it's below it, then it looks like we're going on a downtrend. But as you can see, we're going up. So this has many people believing that we are on the way up. So it's very, very exciting. I'm very excited because all of my crypto bags and investments, I've just been sitting still because the market's been going sideways. But on that note, I will say what I noticed at Token 2049 and being part of so many conversations, and we'll get into the chart that we're looking at here in just one second. I will say the tone in general in crypto seems to have changed. There's a different energy moving around, the conversations you hear VCs having and funds having. It seems like tides are changing. Everyone knows the market's gonna rally, is gonna go up soon. So you see investors redeploying again. And that's such a good sign, right? Because you need the whole market to move in order for the charts to move. So it was a very, very healthy signal for me personally, speaking from my own experience here at Token 2049. And yeah, you saw the parties online. Maybe you haven't seen them if you're new to crypto, but there were a lot of parties, as there always are at these crypto events. But I feel like in general, it seems like the wise, and the big funds and the VCs that are respected are maturing. And the sentiment was totally different at this Token 2049. It was actually very refreshing to see and to hear. But going back to what we're seeing on the screen, here we see, Bitcoin's ETF inflows and outflows chart. Today is the 24th, so this is, depending on your time zone, this would be right around now, although we can be expecting new data. But as of the 23rd, we had inflows for BlackRock, Fidelity, and Grayscale. And this is a really good sign because it once again, we know that rate cuts just happened. And historically, as we'll see in a second, when rate cuts happen, it basically sends a signal to investors and tells them, okay, things are, it's cheaper to borrow money, it's cheaper to get into business. So it sends a signal to everyone that it's a good time to invest. So once again, this is another reason for us to know that and feel validated in knowing that the crypto market is going to be all the signs, right? If we eliminate guessing and emotional sort of feelings out of it. If we just look at the data, then we can see that it really does seem like the crypto market is going to pump. Well, that said, I want to share something that's so interesting. If speaking of signals, BlackRock, okay, like the biggest asset manager in the world, released this, academic grade paper. And it's very interesting because, BlackRock just entered into the crypto space. Like a few months ago, they legalized the first Bitcoin ETF, making crypto investing available to their investors. So this is coming from someone that is from an entity, a very powerful entity that just got into crypto. And now they've published this paper. Now, I'd encourage you to go find it. It's called Bitcoin, a Unique Diversifier. But I just wanted to call your attention to this one chart that I found the most provocative and just very interesting. So they're making a case. Okay, so imagine, just take a step back and imagine and think of all the investors of old money, the richest people in the world pretty much, okay? They allow their money to be managed by BlackRock. And they are reading this. That is who is reading this. And then think of who they're sharing it with. They're sharing it with their other millionaire friends that are not investing in crypto yet. They're sharing it with their kids. So just imagine that this is a giant boulder that was thrown into the water, into the ocean, and it's going to be sending off ripple effects. And this is what they're saying, and they're making a case for Bitcoin. So this is another signal and a reason for you and for me and for everyone to know and feel a sense of confidence in knowing that the crypto market is going to be rallying, right? It's going to be taking off soon. Some are suspecting, and I heard it in so many conversations, like 2 weeks. Like that's what you keep hearing, right? But let's see what it says. So it says, what makes Bitcoin relevant? So on the one hand, where you see the numbers 1, 2, 3, okay, these are the problems that money has encountered in the world so far. And on the other side is what Bitcoin, like the difference Bitcoin has made possible in the world. So on the one hand, the problem we've all experienced with money, nations, right? This has taken people to war. This has taken nations down to total destruction. Is that one, money is prone to inflation and debasement, right? Given that there's not a fixed supply, they can just print money like the way they did during COVID. 2, it's been difficult to transact and send money across borders. Maybe you have family in other countries. I know, I'm Latina, and it's very common and traditional in Latinos culture that they send money home to their families. Like we're raised that way, right? Like you take care of your family forever. Your parents took care of you, so you take care of your parents. And so that's been hard for people. I don't know if you've encountered this. Let me know in the comments. But it's been hard to send money cross-nationally, right? Like in the US, there's Venmo or Cash App. But if you're not American or you're outside of the US, it's hard, really hard. So that's been a problem, right? And then third has been access. Like I just explained, right? Like there's access, but within nations. Like you can't just send money internationally so easy, right? You pay an arm and a leg to send money internationally. So it's a really big problem if we're hoping the world can evolve and become like Singapore, It's like a city of the future. It's amazing. And it's covered in gardens, which is my favorite part. Super safe. You just tap your card at the subway. You don't need to go stand in line, get a card, punch it through the machine. You just literally tap your debit card. That's it. You're in them. It's truly such a beautifully engineered city. But enough about Singapore. Back to the chart. So what has Bitcoin, on the other hand, made it possible for everyone to do, right? So whereas the traditional dollar or the peso or the whatever has been going down in value all over the world, everyone's currencies are pretty much going down in value. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is going up in value. Why? Because there's only so much Bitcoin ever to be created. That will be created. As you see on my screen, there is a fixed amount or fixed supply, as we call it, of 21 million. That's it. That's why people project one Bitcoin will be worth up to $1 million someday, because there's only so much. So what happens, right? The less there is of something, the more it goes up in value. So Bitcoin solves this huge problem for everyone. That's why you hear, I won't get into politics, but Trump talking about basing the US dollar in the Federal Reserve, like bringing Bitcoin into it to preserve its wealth. Otherwise, the US dollar will lose its place and the US will go back to becoming like a third world nation. All right, next. What else does Bitcoin solve and do for the world? It's digitally native and borderless. What does this mean? It means it doesn't matter. You can be in this country, in that country, you can be in any country, and you can send Bitcoin and no one can stop you, and it's easy and it's fast, right? Maybe not so fast on the Bitcoin network. It can take a few minutes, but what's a few minutes compared to a few days to a week to impossible, right? Which is the current situation we're all actually looking at, unless you're already using Bitcoin and crypto. And if all of this is like a lot, sounds like Chinese to you, or if you try sharing this with your family and it sounds like Chinese, you can actually search for me on Instagram. I just made a new Instagram. It's the same branding, the same colors as this channel, Crypto by Jess. And I break down crypto into bite-sized content, like one concept, one word at a time. So you can always share that with your family. But anyway, moving on. What else does Bitcoin do for everyone? It's the first truly open access global monetary system. So back to what we were saying a moment ago, is that it's truly the first currency for the world. That's what it is. It's like the future is here now. And this is the money system of our now future. Amazing. And BlackRock, of all people, published this paper. So it's just like mind-blowing, amazing to think of how far we've come. Next, to help increase, I want to say your faith, but I don't want to use emotional words because this is data. We're talking about our money. But here, if we're talking about data, right, on the chart, you will see, it's a great tweet, but look at the chart. That's what matters here. For the first time in Bitcoin's history, we see a golden cross. What's that? It's right here. Can you see my mouse? The golden cross, right? It's where the SMA, right, the simple moving average, 100 versus the 200. So the SMA 100 is like the shorter term moving average. And then the SMA 200 is the longer term moving average. So if you compare more current present data, moving average, with historical moving average data, it tells us a story. That's what's so amazing of charts. And what this chart tells us, what this golden cross tells us, is that when this happens, it tends to signal, right? It's the first time Bitcoin's seeing it on its chart, but it's not the first time other charts have seen it. It indicates that most likely the market's going to go up. So this is amazing. Now, couple all of this, right? And then see what he says right here. This is what I was about to say. So couple that, right? Or combine to that the fact that the Fed cuts interest rates for the first time in 4 years, which once again, as I said a moment ago, this tells everyone, it's a signal that, oh, it's okay to go back into the market. It's okay to invest again, which is definitely something I heard and felt a lot here at Singapore's conference, Token 2049. You could just feel it in the air. Everyone was like this energy of like, we're back. Amazing. And actually so many projects, just as a quick little comment here, so many projects that I invested into last bull run that I hadn't heard of. I didn't see any marketing. I didn't see any updates. So I didn't know what was going on. Thankfully, for the ones I bumped into, I did not sell my bags on them, which I'm really grateful for. There were a few moments where I was like, oh no, like, did I sell my tokens, like your tokens? But I didn't. And it was really good to know, really good to hear. There were at least 2 projects that I bumped into where I wasn't sure if, what was up with them. And turns out they had kept building, which is amazing. So it seems like the real projects kept building, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of them. They've just been, I guess, being wise. Like, what do you do when you don't have a lot of capital to deploy? You focus on the essentials. You focus on building. That's what true builders do during a bull run. They keep their heads down and they just keep grinding, right? Keep working. But anyway, this is such a good signal for us all happening on Bitcoin's chart. So amazing. And as we were saying a moment ago, JP Morgan says over the last 40 years, the Fed has cut rates 12 times. With the S&P 500, which is like a basket, right, of like all the major companies, they began within 1% of all-time highs. The stock market was higher a year later every single one of the 12 times they cut interest rates, producing an average return of 15%. So if this is the case, we can assume that now that the Fed has cut interest rates in 1 year from now, because history tends to kind of rhyme, we can assume that the market in a year from now will be at pretty much all-time highs, bringing an average return of 15%. Now, I'm not a fortune teller, but this is what history has showed us, right, over the last 40 years. So you can decide for yourself. And then just some more bullish news. I feel it's just always important, and this is what this video was about, was just bringing you up to date with what's been going on in the crypto market. We have BlackRock, right? They just released that paper I shared with you a moment ago. CEO saying it one more time, Larry Fink, his opinion on Bitcoin and why he thinks it's a good investment. It's just a few seconds, bear with me.
I believe Bitcoin is legitimate. I'm not trying to say there's not misuses like everything else, but it is a legitimate financial instrument that allows you to have maybe uncorrelated, non-correlated type of returns. I believe it is an instrument that you invest in when you're more frightened, though. It is an instrument when you believe that countries are debasing their currency.
Which all the countries pretty much are, right? Debasing, meaning their currencies are going down in value.
Debasing their currency by excess deficits, and some countries are. I believe we have countries where you're frightened of your everyday existence, and if you have an opportunity to invest in something that is outside your country's control, then you can have more financial control. And so I'm a major believer that there is a role for Bitcoin in portfolios. I believe.
You see, saying there's room for Bitcoin in traditional investors' portfolios. He's backing it. He gives all the reasons, for us to know like why Bitcoin's a good investment. Basically, all the monetary systems of the world are going down in value while Bitcoin's value is going up. Now, shifting gears a little bit, I've already mentioned a few times my sentiment on token 2049 here in beautiful Singapore. The sun finally came out. It was raining earlier, like crazy raining. This was like a very interesting sentiment, okay? And I can see where this person's coming from, Jason Choi. He says, token 2049 felt like a top signal, meaning like the markets were going up. And I agree. You saw, like I said, so many great projects that, from last bull run, still around, still innovating with so many amazing updates. I personally met with several new projects that are actually solving a real world problem. I'll be making videos on them as well. So in general, you heard of VCs and these like liquid funds now popping up and kind of stepping in because many funds just stopped deploying, right? Like they stopped investing in new projects because why? The market was down. There was no sign of it going up yet. And so they were just chilling. Like everyone was just sitting on their money. But what is, when things tighten or when conditions get negative, usually that's when new inventions pop up, right? And so liquidity funds, they're not a new thing, but it seems like you heard more of them, So anyway, all things said, there was like really creative marketing going on. It was like very, very fun and refreshing to see instead of everyone doing the same thing again and again. So that was a top signal for me. So I agree with him. But then he said that Solana's Breakpoint, right? Solana's own event, which I did not attend, full disclosure, but I did have several conversations with people who did. And this person that we're reading, he said it felt like a bottom signal. So like, he's all being like Debbie Downer about it. I can see what, maybe what he's referring to. There were a lot of KOL parties, like influencer parties. So I can kind of see what he's talking about a little bit, if he's observing KOLs from the outside. But as a mini KOL, mini influencer, and knowing pretty much most of the influencers, as I do, and I hear what's going on, I know what's going on, there's actually a pretty big divide. So if you are still watching this video with me, then thank you. And you're about to learn something like from an insider's perspective. Like obviously there's like a big divide between the type of crypto influencers that are out there. You have, you know, the really shark, pump and dump type influencers that are just trying to make money. I won't mention them on this channel, but there are, right? And then, but there also are so many like legitimate KOLs that are honest people. They really love their communities. They don't dump on their communities. They're also many times building projects. And so you have really awesome crypto influencers, KOLs. I would say there's like KOLs, thought leaders, right? Knowledge leaders. And then there's influencers. And I feel like they're different. Okay, so for Jason Choi, like I feel bad that he had that impression of KOLs at the KOL parties, but I would say they're not all that way. Anyway, that said, at Solana Breakpoint, I'll make a whole video on Solana because it deserves it. There's so many updates with Solana. We'll run through them quickly, but it does merit its own video. And I'm going to start covering each of my top favorite tokens that I'm personally invested into as well, separately. So if you go to my channel, you can go to Solana and you can see my updates and you'll know these are Solana updates. So this is the chart of Solana, right? Hopefully you can see it. My face is not blocking. But after Solana Breakpoint, it really pumped. Like Solana pumped. I was like, I need to go buy some more Solana. So this is wonderful, right? And that's because they did such an interesting marketing stunt. They dropped their phone and the phone, I guess, was loaded with a bunch of like top Solana tokens. So it made all the holders like hold the token. So very interesting. But anyway, that said, what is more interesting is that we have head of crypto at PayPal, Jose Fernandez da Ponte. He sounds Portuguese. This is what he says, you know, so now you even have PayPal. Like, we already knew this. They already made it possible to send Bitcoin. But this is what they say, right? You have like true giants in the world, in the financial industries, all pointing to Bitcoin, all acknowledging crypto's here to change the world and everyone participating actively. So it's as they say, you know, the future is here. It's just not widely circulated. And it's our job, and this is why I do what I do, is to bring crypto to you and make it accessible. So this is what he says, right? He says, crypto is too big for us to ignore. Ethereum isn't fit for payments. Token extensions was a big reason why we chose Solana. So they chose Solana because it's so fast. And then we have Bonk, ETP, exchange traded product, announcing its launch in the US, which is its first step towards becoming an ETF. It would be the first step. And we know Bonk is such an interesting token that really meme coin, right? It started off as a meme coin. And then once they grew their community, they turned it into something useful. Now they even have a trading bot. Like, it's such a beautiful example of the future and crypto and how you can actually build an amazing product by first building an amazing community off of an amazing little cartoon. If we break it down, that's what happened. And to me, I love it as a marketer. I love it. And lastly, we're going to wrap it up with this tweet because it just really says it all. This is what this person wrote. He says, these guys are literally saying, you know what? Let's just actually make the internet itself faster while we're at it, right? And then he laughs off, like he laughs. He goes, this goes beyond blockchain, right? Faster CDNs, edge computing, etc. This is like, forget all blockchain crypto terminology, right? This has to do, like, they'll be announcing more in coming weeks and months, but this is the most exciting project in crypto and it's not close, right? So there's no comparison. Because it's not about blockchain terminology or tech or infrastructure. It's literally about making like the internet itself faster. So any app or anyone that builds on Solana is just going to be like lightning speed on a decentralized blockchain. Not decentralized in itself, but using blockchain technology is what I mean, like, which in itself operates in like a nodular decentralized manner. Pretty amazing. But that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. And I'll just finish by saying once again that Token 2049 was awesome. It was so nice to see everyone again. And I will be back here reporting to you from a very interesting country next. You'll just have to see my next video to know where I'll be coming to you from. But that said, take care, and I will talk to you guys soon. Ciao.